So you may have come across a book called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. And while I think the premise behind this book is actually really awesome, it's just not applicable for parents of young babies and toddlers or busy entrepreneurs who have a pretty full life. And so I want to come at you with the 6 a.m. reset, or the aligned morning formula, as I like to call it. So first off, I'm Natalie Sisson. You're listening to the Life Pilot podcast. And what I want to share is that I read this book several months ago and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. every morning and I'm going to work on the 20-20-20 principle. So you may ask what that is. It's 20 minutes of moving to get you actually sweating. So doing calisthenics or going on a run or doing some weights that are pretty full on so that you're really, really sweating. And then moving into 20 minutes of reflection. So that's meditation or journaling or setting your intentions, but really more around that meditation and visualization. And then the last 20 minutes are for learning. So really stimulating your mind, grabbing a great book, listening to an excellent podcast, or watching a really useful video. Now, I happened to try this for a full week. I know, I didn't try it for a full year, but I tried it for a week and I did it directly after competing in a high rocks competition, which was epic and amazing. But that was so wrong for a couple of reasons. One, I had been training at Body Fit Training for 8 weeks, doing the 8-week challenge. So kind of going from my normal level of fitness, which was pretty bim and good, to getting up a fair bit earlier and just doing 5 to 6 training sessions of an hour every single week. Strength training, HIIT sessions, all sorts, sometimes a combination of both, and really pushing myself. And I loved it. And then we went straight into another 8-week block, keeping that up and adding in a Sunday high rocks training of 90 minutes, including a lot of running and strength training. So 2 days after finishing high rocks, I started the 5 a.m. club, which just meant I was exhausted and it was not the right time. But I managed it every single day. I got up at 5 or just before, and I'd either take myself off to the gym or I do some, rather than getting super sweaty, I do some yoga or Pilates. Then I would do a Dr. Joe Dispenza, because I love him, guided visualization or meditation for around 20 minutes. And this was really seeing yourself as if. So really leaning into your dream life, becoming the person that you want to be. A lot of affirmations, visualizations, and belief. And it's powerful, right? Like, we'll come to my new 6 a.m. schedule soon. And then the last 20 minutes, I was grabbing a book, actually a really, really great one around the Stellar and Dot founder, and it was called Find Your Extraordinary. So a very, very motivating book written by a very successful female entrepreneur, and I absolutely loved it. I loved, actually, more than anything, having the time to read at that hour of the morning. So by about 5:45, I was reading this book, even if it was 5 or 10 pages, sipping on a hot lemon water. But here's where I have a bit of a gripe about it. First off, I really do think it's aimed at high performers or people who want to be high performers. I think it is excellent if you are a single person living in an inner city apartment or somewhere and you can do this. You can run down to a gym at 5 a.m. or you can go sprinting around the block, or you have your own home gym, and that you can take yourself off to bed at any time the night before, get up that nice and early, wake up with an alarm clock, or after a while, supposedly you'll just wake up naturally, which I fully believe, and then go straight into your journaling and meditation and then straight into your learning. It doesn't work so well when you have kids, whether they're small or getting older. It really doesn't. Even at 5 a.m., even if they're not up at that time, they'll start to be up at that time is what I noticed. So even when I was like awake at 5:30 and I was sitting quietly in the lounge, I was doing my meditation, it just so happened that Leonardo, our beautiful 3.5-year-old boy, decided to get up at that time. And then he came tottering along, and instead of coming into our bedroom for a snuggle, he saw that I had a glowing lamp on in the lounge, and he came in and he snuggled and he chatted. And then he saw me reading my book. And so he wanted me to read a book to him. So I mean, that was actually a really beautiful example, but I often found that even with the best intentions and even being up at the crack of dawn before anybody else, somehow that was often interrupted. There were very few times when I didn't just have it fully for me, because then the dogs would be like, hey, I want to cuddle, or can you let me out while I'm in the middle of a visualization? Can we go on a walk? Which I sometimes did. I went up really early with them up into the forest. And this was before it got dark in the morning. So there's all sorts of things to consider. So in short, that hour that I had gained, it felt like, was very peaceful and beautiful and useful, but it was quite a lot of time and often didn't go quite as planned. And honestly, by the end of the week, I was exhausted. I had to have an extra nap and go to bed super early. So the second thing that I didn't do well was I did not take myself off to bed earlier. I did not account for the fact that I was getting up earlier and starting to adjust and go to bed earlier. Looking back, if I really wanted to make it work, I would have gradually gone from where I was really waking up, which is around sort of 6:30ish. I would have taken that back by increments of 5 to 10 minutes every day. So just setting the alarm earlier each day, or if I was waking up naturally or going to bed earlier, 5, 10, 15 minutes each day, and then starting to wake up a bit more naturally at that time until such time that I got to 5 a.m., right? But here's what I found is that I don't think you need to be getting up at 5 a.m. If you can and you naturally wake up, then fantastic. Use it in that way with the 20-20-20 rule. But how about the 6 a.m. reset or the aligned morning formula, which is the 10-10-10? So 10 minutes of movement. And by movement, I actually suggest that doing yoga or stretching or something that just feels really good to you that isn't actually going to make you sweat heaps, but is going to give you some endorphins is just as good. And I would even go so far as to say breath work, because breath work is actually work and it can really get you pretty warm and activated, and it gets a lot of oxygen flowing into your brain and into your body. And I have been loving the Awaken breath work. It's just 5 minutes and it really, really is quite incredible. 5 minutes anybody can do anytime. So even if at worst your morning gets interrupted and you've got in 5 minutes of breath work, I think you've already won the day because it makes you feel amazing. I will link to that in the show notes. And they're actually Kiwis, which I love, and they're doing incredibly well. So I've actually been doing 5 minutes of Awaken breath work, which leaves me really buzzing, and then asking the question of basically, what does my inner guidance want me to know today, which is a beautiful question to ask after you've oxygenated the heck out of yourself. And then I go into listening to a Dr. Joe Dispenza guided visualization. So I usually have them saved. I do listen to them on YouTube and I just put them to the side. So I'm not looking at it. I shut my eyes. I sit on the couch in our lounge room and I do those. And I'm really tuning into the ones where you are acting as if. So I've talked about this in a couple of episodes now, that if you want to be the person that you want to be, lead the life that you want, you get to act as if, and you start to rewire your subconscious brain to believe that that is actually who you are and that it's true. And then you go out into the world and you act like that and amazing things happen. So easy, right? Well, actually, it kind of is. And these visualizations and meditations have been working so well for me. And crazy stuff's been happening. For example, I was doing a meditation. I was thinking about the prompt around how much money I wanted in my life and in my bank account. I took a specific amount. And then later that day, it showed up, not just in my bank account, but essentially somebody wiped out a loan that we had on a property for that exact amount, 150K. And I was like, holy crap, this stuff works. So I've got many other examples of that, but just one for you right there. And then the last 10 minutes, I have been reading a book. So 10 minutes is, you don't get through much, but even if you start with 10 minutes, you can carry on and read for half an hour, 2 hours if you want. The reading part, I think, works better than listening to an audio or a video, because unless you've pre-programmed that or you've got it lined up, you're ultimately going to start doom scrolling or do something, or you're going to go into listening to a different type of podcast or stuck watching YouTube shorts. So I actually prefer picking up a physical paper book or your Kindle and just reading some wisdom. So whether that is fiction or non-fiction, whether it's memoirs, whatever it may be, I personally prefer probably on the personal development side of things or memoirs of successful or amazing people. And it's so beautiful. It is such an honor to be able to just read at that time in the morning, even if it's only a couple of pages. And then ultimately I want to pick it up again at the end of the day. You could replace this last part with journaling. So if the breath work and then the meditation really gave you a lot, you could then be journaling and writing out your gratitudes. I do my gratitudes in the evening, every evening. I just have a 365 daily diary and I write every single day what I'm grateful for. But you could also start off the day after those two things and write what you're grateful for that hasn't happened yet, which is another way of leaning into acting as if. So the point that I'm trying to make here is you do you and you choose you. But half an hour feels much easier in my mind to be able to carve out for yourself and much more doable. And it means if one of those things is interrupted, you've probably got at least 10 to 15 minutes to start your day off well and align yourself with your intentions. And if you are in business for yourself, if you are also a parent, if there's a lot going on in your life, if you've got elderly parents or demanding job role or career, half an hour seems very, very doable. By all means, stretch it to an hour and invest that hour in yourself. But I think even half an hour in the morning to set the right intention for the day ahead is going to have massive implications and ripple effects in your life. So I would personally love for you to try that. So what that looks like is a 6 a.m. start versus a 5 a.m., right? And why I like 6 a.m. is that, and again, you choose you. You could do 5:55 or 5:30 or 4 something if you wanted. But why I like 6 is it means if I don't get to sleep by 10, I'm still getting a full 8 hours. And I'm going to do a whole episode on the power of sleep because it is one of the most restorative, healing, epic things you can do for yourself. And it's free and we don't often get it right. And women need more of it than we realize. So 8 hours of quality sleep is pretty much my ideal. And to me, that feels I'm winning at life. And don't always get it with a toddler, and especially not a toddler who comes to sleep in our bed often and isn't sleeping through the night. But somehow quality deep sleep and also really great REM sleep is important. And I can track that all through Aura. My Aura ring, so awesome. That is the best gift that I can give to myself. I would far prefer to wake up later than 5 a.m. and give myself the gift of sleep to restore my whole body and make me feel healthy, then cut into that just so that I can become a high performer, probably for a couple of days a week. So the rest of the time I'm like yawning and exhausted. Anyway, that's my take on it. Robin Sharma, I still think you're awesome. And the book is really motivating and inspiring, but I just kind of think it works a little bit too much towards having an ideal life as a single person. And I wanted to put something out there that was much better for parents, entrepreneurs, people who have a pretty diverse life and can't quite lock in that time in the morning, or frankly don't want to, but still win the day and have an amazing time and really make sure that how they show up is how they want to be showing up, and what they're focusing on is really aligned with their values and what they want out of life, and not letting anybody else in on that day. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, then please give it a like, a share, a thumbs up, and actually share it with somebody who could really do with this, who maybe isn't a morning person, but just wants to shift into a better routine so that they can start to feel better about every aspect of their life. Because trust me, it is such a gift to give yourself that time in the morning, no matter how big or small. And second, if you are kind of like, oh, Nat, you've been talking a lot about sleep here and then work and then, gifting money and finances and all the things. I'm not quite sure where I'm at in my life. Like I feel like some things are going really well and other things are suffering. Then I highly recommend you check out my free life audit. Head to lifepilot.co/audit. Take it. It's free. It only takes a couple of minutes and it will very quickly show you where you are versus where you want to be. And then there'll be a bit of a game plan, some free resources and emails to follow up to help you to get to where you want to be. One of those could be coming to join the Life Pilot Legends Club, where you're definitely going to become the legend of your own life. Or one of those could be working with our Life Pilot methodology to really help you turn your dreams into reality one day at a time. Thank you so much for listening. You can find all the previous episodes at lifepilot.co/podcast and tune in next week for another episode where I'm going to be definitely helping you live the best version of your life that you absolutely can, because you're worth it. Yes, you are.